opening statement. Reminder, we're 11 a.m. Central Time this week against Penn State on Big Ten Network. If you haven't applied for your credentials, you can do that through the credential link. Start with a statement. If you have a question, just go ahead, raise your hand, get my attention, and we'll go from there. Coach?
Excited to be back in our routine. The team was back this morning to review the Minnesota game, and what a great opportunity to clean some things up and identify areas that we need to continue to improve, while also celebrating a lot of the qualities and traits that we strive to put on full display as a program. The resiliency, the grittiness, the way that our guys played for 4 quarters. Had a conversation with the group today. That's the expectation. That's the standard. That's what this program is all about. And great opportunity for us to clean things up, but also had a glimpse to some of the things that this team is capable of moving forward. The guys will return this afternoon as we get into Penn State prep. We're excited to have an opportunity to practice today. We have one heck of a football team coming in here, very talented, very well coached. Coach Franklin clearly has done an outstanding job within all elements of their program, from a recruiting standpoint, coaching in all 3 phases of the game. They are playing at a really high level right now. So we're excited about the opportunity. Know it's going to be quite a task, but certainly very, very looking forward to returning to Ryan Field on Saturday.
David, what changed for your offense from not just the week before against Duke, but also from the first half and in part of the third quarter into the fourth quarter?
Yeah, no, it's in the first half. There were a lot of self-inflicted wounds, through penalties, and there were moments where we were really moving the ball in the first half. Just unfortunately couldn't get out of our own way. I do think, even though the second half involved a very explosive passing game, the fact that we were able to move the line of scrimmage and establish the run game early played a factor in that. The protection out of the offensive line was a huge factor. Obviously, Ben, started to really put on full display some of the things that we see out of him in practice, every day, and had seen throughout fall camp. But I think you see a group and a unit that was just, is starting to find a rhythm and gelling. And, the questions continued to be about Ben, but I think we saw, a group around Ben that was fully supporting him, protecting him in the pocket, guys out on the perimeter making some big plays. And at that point, there was a lot of confidence and a lot of rhythm, and it was really neat to see what that group was able to do, especially in the fourth quarter.
Coach, Ben was limping late against Minnesota. He also left UTEP in the second half. Is there any concern about a lingering injury, or is this more standard wear and tear of playing quarterback at this level?
I think it's just part of playing quarterback at this level. Ben finished the game, showed his toughness, his grittiness. Back in the facility today, going through his typical routine, and excited to move on to Penn State.
Coach, what have the last 36 hours been like since the end of that game for you, for this team, and what has been the outreach from alumni of this program and the Northwestern community?
Yeah, I mean, the outpouring of support has been really neat. Everywhere from alumni, former players, parents of current players, mentors, people that I've coached with, high school buddies. I mean, the list goes on. And it's really neat. But the moments I cherish the most, honestly, are the time with my family post game, the time with our players post game. A little bit of a reprieve Sunday morning, with my family, breakfast with the boys, and you walk back into this facility and it's like, hey, what do we need to learn from this last one? And it's a sprint to get ready for Penn State and get ready for practice this afternoon. So as much as there was a great deal of enjoyment and all that, it's been that's part of the Big Ten schedule. On to the next. So awesome Saturday evening. So cool to see the outpouring of support from so many different areas of the Northwestern community, and really excited to continue to channel all this positive energy and put that into our preparation for Penn State.
Coach, you talked after last game about your passion and the fire that you have and competitive spirit, and you expect, your players to play with that level of enthusiasm. Do you feel like they have that, or do you feel like that is motivating them, your kind of passion, or just like in games like that?
That is a great question. There's no doubt in my mind that is within our young men and Burns, at a very high level. What I would say is, this group is such a group of high character, quality young men that want to do right. They want to please. They want to do what they're being coached to do. And at times, sometimes that can get in your way of just really cutting it loose and going and playing free. And again, I truly believe that God has gifted me with patience and poise, I've done my best to put that on full display over the course of time that I've been at Northwestern. But I feel like I've also been gifted with an intense competitive spirit, and I think that's allowed me to find success in a lot of different areas of my life. And I really started to get a sense that post Duke I needed to do a better job of letting that side of who I am, be on full display more often. And I think all that has done is help pull that out of our own guys. Things that already existed within their competitive demeanor and who they are. I think when they see a coach that's kind of letting it rip and coaching free with a great deal of passion and energy and love for the people that I'm around in the game that we get to play and get to coach, you certainly hope that is embodied within your team. And the neat thing is we didn't just see that on Saturday. We saw that in the way that this group practiced on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in the preparation for Minnesota.
Half of games this year, it feels like the offense in particular has kind of been a little slower. You guys have started to pick things up in the second half. What kind of tweaks are you expecting to make to kind of get more points on the board early in the game so you guys don't have to overcome a 21-point deficit in the fourth?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there needs to continue to be focus on just consistent execution because there's moments where we're moving the ball, but again, a holding call or a TFL or a sack, all of a sudden that drive stalls out. And then, 2 drives later, you're back in rhythm, negative play, that drive stalls out. And again, everyone's going to get sick of me saying this, but some of it comes back to complementary football as well. Defensively, we're able to get a stop on the first drive against Minnesota. But after that, did not play our brand of football. And again, you can see what starts to happen in the third and fourth quarter when you start to stack a 3-and-out followed by a 5-play drive and the ball's punted, and all of a sudden that momentum starts to build. That only helps the offense get in that rhythm. So, on both sides of the football, we need to find some of that mojo in the first quarter to get going, and I think that only helps an offense continue to turn positive plays into positive drives and points.
Coach, last week after Duke, you said you regretted not going for that 4th and inches to open the game. Very similar situation this week against Minnesota, 4th and inches near midfield. Was there a consideration to go for it, or were you punting that ball no matter what?
That is a great question. Punting that ball no matter what, and strictly coming from a standpoint of, with the operation that we were dealing with in Duke being a tempo operation, a certain style of play, the level that quarterback had been playing with at Duke, that was an opportunity for us at Duke to be aggressive, to find some ways to get an early drive, get points on the board. At that point in the game against Minnesota, it felt like, the way that Minnesota operates offensively, that it could really be a game that, possessions were limited, field position was going to play a critical role, and points were going to be at a premium. That proved to not be the case, but at the time of the decision, felt very confident in the decision that we went with.
Coach, you mentioned after yesterday's game that the athletic department and support staff have worked really diligently to make adjustments to how you do game day. What have been some of those adjustments? It's
been a transition directly from our team hotel over to Ryan Field. It's been returning to, instead of a locker room setup that, had been utilized COVID and on in more of a Welsh Ryan, that atrium area back into the old locker room. I think, the way that we had structured things in the past was really well thought out. But there had just been some requests from our leadership and our players that, they were looking for a new rhythm at home and, didn't want to be going from hotel over to the facility, back over to Ryan Field. Just wanted to kind of have a direct line from the hotel over to Ryan Field. And we listened, we took feedback, and that staff, we're talking about throwing a curveball at that staff, early August. And I think a lot of people, in athletics easily could have looked at us and said, you know what, Dave, we're going to keep this, status quo the way that it has been. And they said, you know what, whatever you need. And they've gone to work. They've worked really diligently along with, our director of football operations, Alex Nisley, and created an environment that we were able to replicate in fall camp. And I think our guys have really found it to be conducive to their routine on game day.
Coach, you talked about the confidence and consistency you saw from Bryce Kurtz before Saturday's game. Is that difficult for any player, especially with the injuries that Bryce has gone through throughout his college career, to even just find that consistency and even just have confidence to be able to play at the high level that he did on Saturday?
Yeah, no, I think it goes both ways. I think especially at the wide receiver position, both those things at times can be hard to come by, simply from a standpoint of sometimes your consistency may be showing up, playing and play out, but your opportunity for actual production may not, just depending on the coverage a team is playing or, the quarterback's progression and reads. So again, his production was no surprise to us, but just really neat to see all that hard work and consistency in practice and level of confidence that young man carries day in and day out, come to fruition in an incredible game and production, especially when the game was on the line.
I think Penn State's allowed, 5 touchdowns in 4 games, 200 yards a game, something like that. What are you seeing from that defense now that has made them so effective?
They're aggressive. They're balanced. You can't find a weakness on that defense. Really well coached, willing to play tight coverage, man coverage, mix in some different looks, find ways to, put stress on you on first and second down, not just on third down. You see a group that's well coached and plays well off one another. They're playing at a really high level in all 3 phases. Defensively, very impressive.
Coach, your 3 safeties, Devin, Coco, and Jaheim, all made big plays in the run game for negative losses. What have you seen from them as primary support players playing downhill in more of a traditional cover 4 safety type role?
Yeah, it's been fun to see. Obviously, there's been times that the safeties here at Northwestern have been very involved in the run fits, prior to my arrival. In terms of the structure that we have now, a little different than it has been in the past. But those guys, they knew, from the first install meeting, in spring ball that they were going to play a critical role in run support. Those guys have really stepped up, and all of them are doing an outstanding job making that big play on that pressure in the second half. You turn on the film and you watch Coco play right now. He just plays with a different tempo, demeanor, and speed. You want to start talking about that fire that burns deep inside you. That young man knows his purpose. He knows his passion. He loves this place. He loves his teammates, and he tangibly puts that on film. It's really, really proud of the way that those guys are playing right now.
Penn State last weekend possessed the ball for over 45 minutes. In terms of ball control, not too dissimilar from the Rutgers game a couple weeks ago. Just curious how you've learned from that, whether in your prep on both sides of the ball or in areas of practice that you emphasize, how you've learned from that and how you're kind of going to apply that this week.
Yeah, no, it sounds really cliche, and it's a great question, but so much of it comes back to, some of the urgency and edge that we talk about playing with. Like you want to control the football, and you want to find ways to get the football back against an opponent that is going to make a concerted effort to do just that to you. It all starts at the line of scrimmage and then plays into your technique and your fundamentals. If you want to consistently produce in that area and find ways to possess the football, you better be the most physical team on the field on Saturday, which is much easier said than done. Needs to start with our practice habits. Thought our guys did a great job of embodying that next week. Now the challenge is to stack another week this week as we prepare for Penn State. But without the ball, you can't score points, and really difficult to create a rhythm. It'll be absolutely critical that we do a good job of getting this operation behind the sticks and get off the field on 3rd and 4th down.
Coach, Minnesota was a huge win for you in the program. Have there been any conversations with Dr. Gregg about dropping the interim tag, and are there any benchmarks that he has or you have where you would expect to become the head coach?
There hasn't been, and as I've said before, and if I'm just speaking really bluntly, I think it can be a very easy distraction or trap to fall into to allow your mind to wander. And where myself and my wife have committed to is, we feel like we were put in this role for a reason. That's to support our players, to serve our players, and be an incredible steward of the program moving forward, and letting all that take care of itself. And if that's what's meant to be in the long term, that is an honor and a privilege we would take on with a great deal of gratitude and humility. But that's not what we're concerned with right now. We're going to support these players. We're going to serve them. We're going to be great stewards of the program, continue to recruit and make sure that as a family we can look ourselves in the mirror, 10 years from now and be proud of the way that we handled it.
Coach, last year when you guys played Penn State, it was pretty sloppy conditions out in Happy Valley. How much of that tape do you utilize in terms of the ability to force turnovers in the rain, but balancing that with the Penn State team that's played so far this year?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. No, you certainly take a look at it. Our defensive structure right now has a lot of similarities to the way that it was structured last year. So there's a lot of opportunities just to see how offensively they attack certain fronts and certain coverages, certain alignments. That the conditions certainly played a huge role in that game, and you're probably starting to throw out the stats in terms of the run pass percentages and those types of things. But I'll tell you what, the one thing that has become very clear as we've continued to watch the tape from this season, the quarterback play, the O-line play, the running backs, the talent they have out on the perimeter. The amount of points that this group is putting up offensively per game right now. Sometimes you look at numbers and you turn on the tape and you go, man, this doesn't. There's a strong connection there. This group is very talented, very well coached, and poses a great challenge for us on defense.
Obviously, at some of these games, we've seen multiple Northwestern head coaches from different programs. Chris Collins was there this past weekend. What have your conversations been like with the other leaders of these programs, and what have they talked about leading a Northwestern program?
You know what? Just with the context of the transition, there hasn't been a ton of time to spend with the other head coaches, other than all head coaches meeting here and there. But I have been just incredibly impressed with not only the quality coaches within this program, but just the character and who they are as people, the support, the text messages, the phone calls. Dave, anything you and Kristen need, let us know. And we all know this. You know genuine. You know it when it's real. And every single interaction I've had with the head coaches in this department, assistant coaches, support staff, it just has been thoroughly genuine. And again, speaking of the outpouring of support, the amount of text messages from other head coaches was neat for myself and the rest of our program to experience on Saturday night.
Coach, Xander Buehler was spelled by Matt Uline for about a quarter of the snaps last game. Xander went on to make a game-saving tackle on Minnesota's final drive of regulation. What does the rotation look like at that second linebacker position going forward, and what was your thought process seeing Xander fly in and force a punt? We're really excited about the way both those guys are playing right now, and the depth that those guys provide that position, not only at the will linebacker position but other positions within that room, is something that will be critical as we continue to move forward. But plan on utilizing both those guys and both their skill sets. That being said, you turn on the film and watch Xander in the fourth quarter. That dude was playing fast and made some big time plays for us. He was playing in a different gear on Saturday night. Excited for him
to have that continue moving forward.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.